Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about overcoming burnout in 2023. We also have some exciting stuff in the news. Christian's going to share some childhood trauma, and we're going to talk about therapy and much, much more on this episode of Service Drive Revolution. How you doing, Christian?
Great. How are you today?
It reminds me of a story. When I used to gamble a lot, by a lot I mean 1 weekend a month, but I got pretty serious about it.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I almost set up a craps table and hired somebody to push the dice back so I could practice rolling dice.
Oh, that's funny.
I was going to buy like a real...
It was a
craps
significant
table
source of your income at one point in your life, wasn't it?
by accident.
Yeah.
I just never pulled money out of savings for a year because I did pretty good. I remember getting in a cab and going to the Palms Casino because at the Palms at the time, you could bet $200 straight up on a number on the roulette table. So most of the tables cap you at 100.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So do you know what you win if you hit the number straight up in roulette?
35-1. Is that pretty close?
Pretty close. So you would be capped at like $3,600
Okay.
or $7,200
Yes.
if you hit the number straight up, right?
Yes.
You follow me?
Very much so.
So I get to the Palms, I pick a table, I sit down at the table, I'm gambling a little while, and the number, so my system for roulette was I played a section of the wheel, but 17 was the number I had the most on. So I would have $200 on 17. You follow me?
Yes.
17 hit 3 times in a row.
And you had the 200 on it every single time. Wow. So that's $21,600 in 3 rolls.
Now, people were going crazy.
Yeah.
And they were, what do you think they were saying to me? Or what do you think their thought process was?
You're lucky.
Yeah, what else?
You're a genius.
And they probably think, oh, if I won that, what I would do, right?
Oh,
Everybody
yeah.
loves to
Okay,
talk
so they're
about-
spending the lottery.
Yeah, they're like, if that was me, blah, 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 blah. What do they not ask?
What's your system?
Yeah, they don't ask that either, but what else don't they ask?
How much have you lost?
Yeah, they assume that I'm up.
Yes.
But they don't know that I've been gambling for how many days and how far down I am, and that I was so bummed out that I got in a cab and went to a different casino to get away from the pain of what had happened.
You're running from your problems in a
And
Vegas
they
camp.
assume that I'm up this amount of money. They have no idea if I'm still down or even or whatever, right? That is exactly the situation we're in with this freaking library. There's going to be a period of time down the road where people are going to think that we just arrived, that it was just easy, right?
They'll never know.
They will never know the pain that we have endured. But so for you that maybe don't know what's been going on, is I had this idea. Christian later told me he thought it was genius, is I challenged our team that I wanted to do our first 3-day leadership workshop for my birthday. Instead of flying to Europe and missing my birthday in the air, I was going to actually celebrate my birthday and have a birthday party on Friday in the library. I was gonna kind of have like a friendly crowd. I was gonna open it up to some people, but I was gonna kind of stack it with people that are, friendly. So it would be our first time going through the content in the library with home field advantage. What happened?
We were not able to meet the deadline.
So then the second thing that we did, because God and everybody else didn't care about my birthday, I'm blaming it on God.
This is great.
Funny, right? So then the next thing that we had, and I said on the show, I think
You did.
we're going to have our boot camp
In the library, the first live event.
We have a boot camp coming up. There's quite a few people. The boot camp has more people than we could fit in our conference room, anyways.
That's right.
So we needed to do it somewhere else, and so. Yeah, absolutely no problem. We're going to the laying the carpet and then putting the shelves in place. We were on track. And then what happened?
We got an amazing amount of rain for the Los Angeles area.
And what did the proposed place for the library
The area
do?
was not able to
Call it a lake.
Yes, so it had.
We're more likely to jet ski than we are to lay carpet. So now, in the middle, remember when we were in Florida and Dave Anderson was speaking at that Morgan general managers meeting? And do you remember he did one of those "oh shucks" kind of like sayings, where I always love those like old time sayings, like you got to wake up to get up and that sort of stuff. I have a whole list of those on my phone.
Well, we did that right afterwards.
He said. And this makes me want to punch myself in the face. I don't know if you remember Dave said this. He goes, you don't want to fix your roof in the winter when it's snowing.
Yes.
You want to fix your roof in the summer. Basically saying like you want to get your house in order when things are good, not when it's too late.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, we did not take Dave's advice because this money pit that we've bought is in dire need of a roof.
Yeah. And we tried to fix it, but not the whole way.
Yeah. And even when we tried to fix it, they said, hey, you probably should replace the roof. In our inspection when we bought the building, they said we need a new roof. Like, I don't know what I was doing, honestly, because if we would have just done the roof when we bought it, this wouldn't be happening. But we did do the AC when we bought it. we had air conditioning put in.
We did.
The whole building.
It was very cool. It was very cool.
We have 2 5-ton AC things and 2 3-tons?
Which could be contributing because now there's a lot of weight on that roof, right?
Yeah. So now in the middle of the rainy season, we have to get a roof. We're just going to keep playing whack-a-mole, and there's leaks everywhere. It's not just one place, so there's really no sense. I don't know who we're going to get to come do a roof in the middle of
the monsoon. It's going to be tough.
So that's where we're at. We're relocating the boot camp to where we used to be.
Yep.
And
exciting.
Maybe we'll still have dinner at my house with everybody. But
I think that's a fun thing.
The world is testing me. That's the thing. Is like, you know what I tell myself, Christian? Do you know when I'm looking in the mirror, shaving in the morning? Do you know what I say?
That it's all worth it at the end?
No.
Well, I do think that we've hit a moment, and I think that you might need a therapist. I would like to be that therapist for you, and I want your therapist.
What qualifications do you have to be my therapist?
I'm a great listener, also an excellent driver.
Too bad this isn't a couch, and I can just lay back.
So this is what I want you to do. Just relax.
You really want to sit and listen to me whine and bitch for hours and hours?
Yeah, because
I guess you'd cap me in an hour, right?
Yeah, you'll feel better afterwards, and then the bill will be great.
But nothing will get accomplished, really.
Sometimes you just got to blow off that steam a little bit.
Nobody cares.
I do. I care.
I know you care, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I'd way more like grab a shovel and let's get this stuff done. Oh, I almost swore.
Don't do that, and don't tell your dirty jokes. This is for all ages.
For the kids.
I would love to have you as my therapist, but back to when I'm looking in the mirror.
So I'm wrong at that there's a purpose for it. The universe is trying to tell you something is always one of those things I think of.
I think this leadership thing is bigger than us, and the world or whatever it is going to test. And so just when you're out of steam, it's going to make you double down. And then it's like people that start a new business and they run out of money or whatever. And so I kind of already know in my head that this is going to happen. When we decided to do this, in the back of my head, thought it would go bad. I never imagined it would go this bad. But
Yeah.
once again, it just sets a new marker, new experience. But it's not easy. But we will come out, and it will be like the Vegas story. We'll be there, and people will be admiring us and thinking, "Oh, what if we had that? And what if we, whatever?"
Yeah.
And they have no idea that they probably would give up by now. Probably, right?
I think so. I think that's it. Is that the giving up and going backwards is not an option. It reminds me, like, I think if I tell you this story, this is probably going to make everything better for you. So I'm at Target yesterday, right? So I go to Target, going through, I need to pick up a couple of things, some deodorant, and whatever, what have you. So I see this guy. He's in one of the aisles, and he's putting a thing of body wash in his coat pocket because everyone's wearing a coat right now. And I'm like, okay, well, that's weird, but I don't know, maybe he really needs it. So I just don't think anything of it. I walk away, and then I'm walking back. He's in a different aisle, but he's putting like 40 bars of soap in his other coat pocket. And I walk up to him like, hey, man, I'm not a cop, but like, what are you doing? He's like, okay, I need to come clean. What do you think of that?
Didn't make it better. Maybe in the practice of therapy, you don't want to impose your humor on people.
Yeah, it's not about me.
Pull it like more like guided discovery.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I
thought that was
like
a funny
it.
joke.
Should we?
We got a good topic today, or you want to talk about some news? Like, there's so many things we could be doing right now.
Let's do the news. What's in the news, Christian?
A lot of stuff going on. We have some great things, some real nice current event stuff. Carvana, no stranger to the news lately. It is really nuts what's going on with them. So their stock, like one day it goes up, one day it goes down. But at the end of the day, I think that they're headed off of a cliff, would be my thought, is that the big thing is like, it'll have a 23% increase, then a 34% decrease, 184% decrease, then a 16% increase. But they're basically, they're driving down they're driving off a cliff with no brakes. But it's pretty impressive that they're having so much stock movement right now. But I don't know if there's anything that can save them. What do you think?
I think that they have a pretty big market share, and I think they're probably either prime for restructure, and a lot of times the street will forgive you if you have a good story about restructuring. The other thing is maybe they're prime for acquisition. I know people have said like maybe Lithia and somebody else. I think Amazon would be prime to buy them, and they could write a pretty easy check. But I don't know. I think that they'll figure it out. They might end up with a new CEO through the process. I think most of the people that are in the boardroom there are OG, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've been there since the beginning.
Nothing like a new CEO or something to kind of shake it up. But I think that the thing that they are doing is consumers really like it, right? Everybody who buys from them that I know, and it's happened even recently, people have bought a car from them that we know. They like it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the
problem just is they're in their inventory wrong, right?
Yeah. Well,
you
a lot of people
swallow
are.
that once and then you're off to the races again. Some of that public money like that, like remember in the beginning, AutoNation had what did they have to write off? It was some crazy amount of money. Remember they had those used car centers?
Yeah, they were trying to compete with CarMax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, the guys from there left and started CarMax, I think.
Oh yeah, but I remember there are these huge lots, big buildings.
They closed all that and they took a huge write down. But the thing about the street is, a couple quarters, that's the old news, and now.
Yeah, now it's how great
your ability to create good news on the bottom can save you.
The Amazon thing's really interesting to me, because that you would gain that
I
Amazon
never thought they'd buy Whole
infrastructure.
Foods.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And if you're looking at market share and how quick they gained market share, if they continued that, that's something that is appealing to somebody like that.
Yeah, it would behoove on Amazon to get into automotive.
Also, they start to then compete with the Walmarts and the Costcos, right?
Yeah.
In numbers, because it's big sales. Cars are big sales numbers.
That's right.
Low margin, but huge numbers.
Good stuff. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens, but you heard it here first. Amazon. All right, next, there's some pretty interesting stuff. So the Auto Tech Best Cars, Rides, and Auto Tech of CES 2023, which is something about, what's CES again? Like
Consumer Electronic something?
Yeah, fancy technology stuff.
Consumer Electronics Show.
Thank you. That's great. So I'll just kind of hit the high points, but Mercedes-Benz, rival to Tesla's EV charge network. So Mercedes is building active car charging network with over 10,000 active charge points by 2027, which is 1 year after. I think that what will happen is we'll say we're too electric dependent and then we'll go back to fossil fuels by 2027. You heard that here first too? No? The German automaker said its North American charge network will offer more than 2,500 chargers at 400 stations in the United States. So I thought that was really neat. And then the other thing that's kind of creepy is...
That's, first of all, that is so low. 400?
The 2,500?
You're talking about, how many dealers do they have? Like 330 or something?
Oh, probably.
You're talking about one per dealer? The Tesla is so far ahead of everybody in this infrastructure that it's nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. How far ahead?
I think
400 doesn't even, it's not even a pimple on, it's just not. It's not enough.
Okay.
And the range isn't that. The range on those Benz isn't, it's not twice what somebody else's. It's actually less.
Yeah, I guess I see that. Another interesting thing is the BMW introduced their iVision D, which is pretty crazy. So essentially, everything is they got this crazy new heads-up display. They're replacing a conventional dashboard display with an interface that is projected on the entire windshield, and the driver will be able to pick from 5 different levels of immersion, which essentially means that they can make the background or the foreground look exactly how they want it. And my joke was that they make it look like Mario World, right? So like you got the mushrooms and the things, and someone walks out in front of you and it's really Princess Toadstool or something like that. Like that's pretty fascinating that they're going to.
I think that would make people want to speed up and.
So I wonder, right? Because then it wouldn't be real.
They think it's a video game, so they think pedestrians are extra points.
15 points, exactly right. So that's pretty awesome. And then the Verge TS Ultra. Kevin will have to put an inlay on this, but it's an electric motorcycle that looks really, really neat. They said it's kind of like ridden straight out of the movie Tron, if you remember that from back in the 80s. But the thing's really cool looking. So I think it, 0 to 62.5 seconds.
I'm not a candidate for that.
No, I don't think you're a motorcycle guy at all. But
what about the Sony car?
Well, let's see if it says that in here anywhere.
Did you see that?
No.
So Sony's kind of was teasing, but they showed the car. They're doing it with somebody. It looks kind of like all those electric cars look.
Yeah. There's a picture of the Ram concept truck in here. It's coming out in 2024. And then LG working on autonomous driving.
How long till you're back in an electric car? You went from electric to combustion?
Gas. Yep. I really like this car. And then
so for everybody, he's driving a midlife crisis, low-end midlife crisis, like a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, it's
like
not
if
over
a
the
red
top.
Corvette convertible was a 10, would that be a 10?
Yeah.
And what was the other one you wanted to get? The Porsche, the chick SUV. If that was like a 1, this is like a 6, the BMW convertible.
Yeah, I really like it. It's been a lot of fun.
More than the Tesla.
Yeah. The Tesla was neat because I'd never experienced it before, but like I really feel like I'm driving a car right now. So I'm having a lot of fun with this thing. I like it a lot, but I'm also just under a year into it, and I get sick of cars after 2 years. So ask me again in 12 months, and I probably will be getting something else.
Does the same thing happen with your love life?
The timing is a little bit different.
3?
Oh.
It's an odd number?
Yeah, no, it's 10.
10.
Yeah.
Huh.
Decade. So I don't know why that is. And also in the news, let's get off of that subject really quickly. The Goodyear's new tire is made from soybean oil, rice husks, and pine resin. Just what everyone would think a tire is made of. Super interesting. But yeah, I think that's kind of cool that they changed that out. So we got no rubber.
Well, also, too, if you get hungry,
You can just eat the tire, right?
Tires.
But essentially it passed like its first safety test.
Hey, we're going to have a barbecue this weekend in the shop. We're going to recycle all our tires.
And it won't smell as bad.
Yeah. Just cook them up.
But their Goodyear's goal, 100% sustainable tire by the end of the decade. And this one's a 70% sustainable tire. But how fascinating is that? You can make a tire out of soybean oil. So I thought that was pretty cool. But good stuff. Nice work, Goodyear.
And that concludes the news.
That does conclude the news.
Let's talk about our subject: how to overcome burnout in 2023.
Yeah.
Something that we see a lot posted, right? In the forums, we see posted on Facebook. People burn out, and they ask, "How do I overcome burnout?"
Yeah. Speaking of burnout, it reminds me of this time when I was a kid, and my dad came home, and he just saw me standing in front of the blazing fire. He got really mad at me, mainly because we didn't have a fireplace.
Not that good.
Okay. It's all right. I like that one too. It worked out really good in pre-production.
There's going to be a bunch of people that text me that they think it was funny, but that always happens. So what do you think?
I think it's real.
Burnout is real?
Yeah.
How many times have you experienced burnout?
Not a ton, but I think I actively probably work to not experience burnout. I have a system.
What's the system? Well, before we get into the system, I've a couple times taken like time off. Like one time I took a year off. It's worse than like what literally happened is I had this moment of clarity that it was 9 a.m. and I had a glass of wine and I was in my robe painting.
This is great.
And in that moment I was like, I've gone too far.
Yeah.
You need something to do.
You're headed into a Winslow Homer's lifestyle a little bit. That's great.
You need something to do. That's worse than having too much.
Yeah.
I'd rather be busy.
So I would say that for me, the extreme burnout probably a couple of times, and funny that before it really hit me mentally was way more my body started to tell me physically that I was burning out.
Oh, because that happens. People start to get back. A lot of times back pain and things that we experience health-wise are way more connected to stress than they are having a bad back.
For me, it was migraines.
Migraines.
Yep.
Big outcome of stress.
Yeah, but
very common.
It's been years since I've had that issue. But yeah, so I think there's a couple of things you can do to try to keep the burnout away. But a lot of it has to do with its engagement, how you approach it mentally at the end of the day. Because like you said, I think that, even with this thing with the building is taking the approach to get rid of the burnout thing would be to understand that like anything that there's going to be things that go wrong. I'd never assume it's going to go perfect, right? So I think that there's a lot that goes into the approach. But how have you dug out of it though?
What do you mean by dug out of it?
Like if you got into burnout, how'd you get to the other side?
So I think there's a couple of fundamental flaws in this idea of burnout or work-life balance. Like anybody who says, "Oh, I need work-life balance," I instantly just tune out. So if I'm saying that I need work-life balance or I'm burning out, in a sense, I'm deflecting responsibility.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
So who's in control?
We are.
Okay, so if I'm in control, then if I'm putting myself in a situation that's overwhelming me, then I need to back off of the situation. But also I need to learn that if I am in a situation that I would back off of, then my goal isn't big enough or I'm not committed enough to the goal, right? It goes hand in hand. So if somebody is dying of starvation and they need food and they'll, dig through a wall to get to food, they're not really thinking about their fingernails or, whatever it is. They just want to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
Because they want it so bad. So if you're burnt out going after a goal that you don't care about, whose fault is that?
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah. And so I think it kind of deflects responsibility in a sense that, listen, I'm not a victim. If I either need to get more fired up about what it is I'm doing to the point where I'll dig through a wall to get there, or I need to recalculate my kind of my exchange of value, right? Because it's just an exchange of energy.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Your expertise, your energy is what you're giving. And so I just think fundamentally the expectations are wrong. So like we were talking about the building here, like my expectations going in were that it was going to be harder than I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we talked about it, right? Do you remember me kind of telling everybody like, hey, we're going into a new thing here. We have to be on it because there's going to be some variables, that sort of thing. And then when it's worse than what you expect, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is funny. This will be a good story later on. But it doesn't change the fact that we have to, we're on a mission to launch this thing, and this thing's going to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to stop. And so me being burnt out would imply that I can't take a day off, or we can't find better people or hire, you know what I mean? Like there's a huge list of things that we could do if we felt like we were in a corner.
Right.
Which we're pretty good at, I think. Like even, for example, I remember you and I and Patricia sitting down when COVID happened.
Yep.
And everybody was furloughing, right? Like everybody was laying people off and panicking. We were just kind of like, well, I don't know, why don't we just kind of wait a couple weeks and, not panic, and let's just kind of see what happens, right?
Yeah, because the world wasn't going to end, right? Like those.
No, and it's always very interesting to watch people panic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the COVID thing for our company that's probably one of my proudest moments that I think we've had, is the way that we handled that adversity.
I remember when Volkswagen had that diesel recall.
I
had 2 dealers call me on my cell phone saying that they were going to give their franchises back.
Yeah.
Like nuts. And I said at the time, I go, I would just wait. This is going to pass. It's still a great brand and
right.
Whatever, right? And so I think that the idea of burnout is a lot of times maybe you're looking for attention, or you're looking for somebody to feel bad for you, and you're not owning the responsibility of it. Like,
yeah,
be more effective.
So that's, I did write that down. It's funny how when we do these lists, there's something, the way that you see stuff and the way that I see stuff sometimes are very different, but we're headed to the same place. I wrote down that you always have to be a rebel with a cause.
What do you mean?
That there's always got to be a thing. There's always a reason why we're doing the thing, right? So leadership is because we're trying to make the world a better place. That never changes.
And by rebel, you mean not following everybody, not following the norm average.
So however everybody else has done it is irrelevant.
Work-life balance.
Opinion. Yeah.
My wife says I'm not home enough.
Yeah. And the truth is that I think that you kind of said it too, is like when we start to deviate from what the expectation is, it just means we got to put in more energy to get to back to where we're supposed to go. So I think that having the cause is probably the biggest thing to avoid the burnout, because every time I think about leadership and all the stuff that's gone on with the building and all the things and everything like that, but at the end of the day, like I've already seen what it does. I've seen how it changes people, and we need to do that on a mass level because it's what the world needs. So I don't think that I have no desire to go through burnout, and at the end of the day, it's just slowing us down from where we need to get to. So you got to keep. It's just time to lace up the boots, right?
Yeah. Now let's talk about scenarios, because we had one recently where a manager is struggling. We come in with a system that makes it better, makes it easier. The manager wants to keep doing things the way they've always done them, even though they admit that it isn't working and they're miserable. Mm-hmm. And they keep getting the same result, won't take the direction, won't take the advice, won't do the little things that, little hinges swing big doors, the little things. And at the end of the day, it's the person's inability to just understand one simple thing it's a law of nature, is that if you're doing something and getting an outcome that you don't want, you got to change what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Simple.
Input, output.
Yeah. If, every time you do something, you get kicked in the face, you stop doing that thing that gets you kicked in the face. I mean, it's simple, but it really is true, right? So if, and to that point, it's the expectation really is I think you're expecting the world in that situation to change, and not understanding that it's easier if you change.
Yeah.
It's way easier if you adjust your perspective and what you're doing than expecting the world to change to you. And so I think that people get burnt out because they're doing the same thing over and over again. So I would say oftentimes a reinvention is required. And I've said this on the show many times, like when I'm in that scenario, I change the way I dress, I'll move, I remodel my office.
Get up at a different time, all that stuff, right?
Buy a different car. Like I completely reform my life so my subconscious understands that we now have different priorities and a different perspective, and we expect a different outcome.
Yeah.
Most people do a New Year's resolution. It does, they're not, if you're committed to changing the thing, you got to change, change other things so your subconscious understands that you're serious. You can't keep doing the same routine over and over again, expecting the world to conform to you.
Yeah. Definition of
Does that
insanity.
make sense?
Makes a ton of sense.
The other one that I have too is, it's interesting to me that on that subject of not being willing to change and expecting the world to change, what happens to somebody when they are stuck in their ways and they're doing the same thing, getting an undesirable outcome? It starts to affect your self-esteem.
Sure.
And so you start to play not to lose instead of to win. You start to do kind of odd stuff. And we build this whole other strategy that makes us feel worse about ourselves instead of changing and reinventing ourselves and manufacturing wins. Because you can manufacture some wins for yourself, but you have to pay attention to your self-esteem, because if you have low self-esteem and you feel like everything you're doing isn't working, then you got to completely restructure how you're approaching everything.
Yeah.
Right?
I have that on my list too. I have wins/rewards.
It also wouldn't be uncommon for somebody to be struggling as a leader at work and struggling with their kids at home.
I would say it's probably more common that those two things go hand in hand, because you almost take it out on your kids.
They don't see that it's their general way of approaching things. So that's when I say, like, change when you go to the gym, get a new car. Like, all of those things are going to affect every part of your life, but pretty much how we do anything is how we do everything. You're probably struggling at home, you're struggling everywhere if you're struggling at work. They're connected. And thinking that they're not connected is kind of like, it's just business. It's like, it's not business. I'm showing up here and giving
This is our life.
Yeah. So it's not just business, and it's not home versus business. How you carry yourself, how you feel about yourself is going to radiate in every situation you're in.
Yeah. So that's right on. And I think that what happens sometimes in leadership, and it's difficult because I think that leadership in itself, it's selfless, right? You're doing a lot for everyone else. You're not necessarily going to get all the, like when the best leaders don't take the credit for the win, they give it to the team. So we have a salesperson, and he wants to buy a really fancy motorcycle, and I think it's genius, right? So we in text message threads and everything like that, we're sending pictures of the bike, and we're kind of loving it. We're having that conversation about that. And it's funny how leaders, a lot of great leaders, they'll do that stuff and manufacture those wins for their people, but they don't do it for themselves. And it's the same thing. Like, with the things we use to try to motivate other people, we can use to motivate ourselves, but you have to determine that. And it's like, I always think about it, whatever it is, like if it's a car that you want, or a house, or a boat, or something like that. So for me, like, my big thing is that, I want to have a house in 18 months. So every day I'm thinking about what's the activity that I'm going to do that's going to get me the house. And if that doesn't avoid you from getting burnout, I don't know what else would.
Yeah,
if you've got that goal,
it's a great analogy.
And you have to give back to yourself as much as you give to your people when it comes to that. But that's a good one. I like that a lot. This is fun.
So in conclusion, take control. Take control of your schedule. Take control of your goals, your outlook, your expectations. It's up to you. If you're burning out, look in the mirror. It's that simple. And create, intentionally create a system where you either want whatever it is you're going for more than the stress, or that you're putting people around you and systems around you that avoid the stress. But you're not a victim.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's a great one. I hope that inspires you guys going into 2023, and we will see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.